into the peat bog.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me.
Did you actually fall in a bog?
I went through the snow into the bog, and I may have shed a small tear, but I crawled out the other side.
Man, right, but was it really, really scary at that moment? Because you must have been on your own, obviously. There's no news crews following you, unlike, say, Beefy Botham.
No, I realised that no one was going to come and save me, and it was just a ridiculous way to die.
Sure, yeah.
I've envisaged my death, and it wasn't that.
No, I could quite imagine.
Well, this is clearly not it, so let's get out of here and move to the proper death.
I think you're... sorry, move ever forward to your correct death, which is presumably some kind of Wicker Man-esque burning when you finally get to John O'Groats. How... but I think you're being very... You're talking about this in a very cool manner. I mean, surely it was terrifying. I mean, was it as scary as it sounds?
Well, you're forcing me to talk about it again and again, aren't you?
Well, I think it's the first time there's something interesting has happened on this entire walk. I mean, I think we should dwell on it.
Yes, I was lost. There was no visibility. All I could see was snow. I had no real idea where I was or where I was going, and I just kind of kept crawling because the snow was up to my arse.
The snow was up to your arse.
And it's quite tiring when you have to walk through that amount of snow, not knowing if you're going in exactly the right direction or not. And I was scared, let's say.
Well, I imagine, as you were crawling for your life through that snow, you probably thought, what tune am I going to recommend for Steve this coming Sunday? And what tune are you going to recommend?
Well, that was one of the things that was on my mind. The tune I'm going to recommend is one of those tunes by the bands that, used to get together in their garages trying to sound like Mick Jagger. And the records they produced were put onto one of the best compilations I've ever come across, which is the Nuggets compilation.
Uh-huh.
And this band is called the 13th Floor Elevators, and the song, fittingly, is called You're Gonna Miss Me.
Let's hear it, Dave. All the best this week. Good luck, and obviously we'll speak to you once you enter Scotland.
Let's hope so.
All the very best. Stay out of the snow. David Walker's choice for this week, the 13th Floor Elevators and You're Gonna Miss Me, the Steve Show, 6 Music with me, Stephen Merchant. After the news, there is another of Richard's fiendishly difficult music quiz questions and some other great music. If you want to check out Dave's progress, then you can have a look at his blog. Go to the www.bbc.co.uk webpage, look for 6 Music, find my page, and then you'll find a link there too. Alright, 6 Music, and after the news, more tunes. From 1969, Patty Drew, Hard to Handle. Steve Show, 6 Music with me, Stephen Merchant. Now, each week, songs to seduce women by, because it's come to my attention that many of the 6 Music listeners, perhaps a little unfortunate, many of them bedbound, but others, when they've crawled out of their kind of alcoholic or smack-induced stupor, are perhaps not finding it easy to attract a lady of the opposite gender. And so that is why one of the great lovers, such as myself, has been called in to just try and help them out really in that pursuit. And obviously what I've discovered in the past is that the seductive CD is often the way to do it. Now, Rufus, you are a good-looking guy. You are well-educated. You are smooth-talking and something of a toff. We've already established that. I imagine that you have made a smooth CD compilation for someone in the past.
I've made the TDK90 was my brand of choice in the old days of tape.
There are other cassette tapes available.
Yeah, there are. Heavens. Actually, if I really fancied someone, usually it'd be a red one. Remember the red TDK90? So if I really fancied someone, get them a blue one. A little bit higher quality, slightly heavier, I seem to remember. The actual tape itself was a bit heavier, and my dad told me very solemnly once that's how you could tell the high quality cassette tape. A little bit heavier than normal.
Sure. Would you be one of the guys who made a cover?
Oh yeah, with maybe a collage, maybe some, I'd use the stickers from the random numbers you used to get on the, words like copy and master and things. I'd stick them on in various ways.
And sometimes I remember on video cassettes there'd be like little pictures of 2 children playing, or an aeroplane.
Yeah.
Depending on what you were going to tape on there. Yeah.
TDK still have a small cup and saucer. Don't know why, and it was there. But yes, to get back to that, I have made a lot of compilations in my time. In fact, my girlfriend, Melanie, I made 2 compilations, not 1, but 2 when I started.
A double album.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I said way too keen. I was like, yes, I'm going to make 2. Yeah.
Well, you know how important it is. Dan, I imagine you've also made many in the past.
Yeah, many. And I began on the TDK, graduated to the CD, and I think about 85% of the women I sent them to have since left the country. So they've been pretty spectacular.
They've obviously, we've all heard your music choices.
Yeah.
It's no surprise, is it?
I suppose not, no. Yeah, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
Oh well.
Well, as both of you will know, as expert compilation makers, it's all very well having some interesting music that you adore, and we've had tunes from Bright Eyes, we've had Nick Drake, Candy Stat and Joni Mitchell, and they've all been great tunes, some of them familiar to some people, some perhaps less familiar, but it's always worth, particularly if you don't know the lady that well, to just come in with an absolute bona fide classic, something you know that they'll have enjoyed in the past, but that just says to them, it's okay, I'm not going to try and freak you out with my music choices, there's something a little bit more familiar, a little bit more, dare I say it, common, but brilliant. And I think this is the obvious one. So adding this week to the Songs to Seduce Women by CD, it's U2 and The Sweetest Thing. U2, The Sweetest Thing, the track that I'm adding this week to the Songs to Seduce Women by CD. Now, it's time for Richard's incredibly difficult music quiz question, which is, as ever, preposterously difficult. Jude?
Hi, it's Richard here with another fiendishly difficult music question. What is the only example of one dead person replacing another dead person at number 1 in singles chart? What is the only example of one dead person replacing another dead person at number 1 in singles chart?
64046 Stephen with a PH .6music at bbc.co.uk if you think you know the answer. There's no prize at stake. We're just looking for the biggest Six Music listener, who also is the world's biggest nerd. And yes, so good luck with that. Now, Dan, we have one final listener choice, one more listener selection. And incidentally, if you would like to get in touch and recommend a tune, then you can do so by visiting www.bbc.co.uk/6music. Find the picture of my face, click on that, you'll go to my webpage, and I think there you can download or upload or whatever you have to do to contribute a song. Thank you. Dan, what have we got?
We've got Matt Pete has been in touch.
Matt Pete?
Yes, Matt Pete, and he's not on the phone, but he's recommended a song by Andrew Bird called Fake Palindromes. Now, I'm quite happy to champion this on behalf of Matt, because my own choices are just ridiculous, aren't they? Whereas I feel I can't lose when I'm championing a listener. And he speaks very eloquently about this song. Apparently, Andrew Bird has an awesome name.
Okay.
He's a violinist and singer and professional whistler. This song has a fantastic chorus and sounds both unique and strangely familiar. So I guess we'll be the judges of that.
We will indeed. Andrew Bird. Andrew Bird and Fake Palindromes. A choice by whom, Daniel?
Hang on.
It's all falling apart again, Dan. Let's just stop. Imagine that didn't happen.
Okay.
Oh, Andrew Bird.
Hey.
Who recommended that one, Dan?
That was Matt Pete of Coventry.
Matt Pete's a curious name.
A curious name, like 2 first names.
Yeah.
One of them is a surname.
It's an abbreviated surname,
Yeah.
though. It's like Dave Mike or something.
Yeah. Boo! I wouldn't like to be, what was his name? Mike Pete?
No, Matt.
Matt Pete. I would like to be Matt or Mike Pete right now. We've slammed them.
I feel like I've done Matt an injustice there, because the abuse that is normally coming my way has sort of channeled straight through me, straight at Matt, so it's a bit harsh, but who knows, maybe he deserves it.
Yeah,
I don't know, he might not be a nice guy, but I quite like that song. I like the way it rose to a crescendo and went a little bit mental, but I feel I should ask on his behalf whether or not he's made it onto the Steve Show playlist.
Yeah.
Well done, Matt.
I think he probably has. We always set you one of Richard's absurdly difficult questions, and it really was. I mean, this was preposterously hard. I mean, I don't know that there's anyone that knows the answer to this. It was which dead artist replaced another dead artist at number 1. We've had some emails or texts, I imagine.
Yeah, we've had an incorrect answer from Darren in Manchester, who says, "Good afternoon, Steve et al. Is the answer John Lennon replacing Elvis Presley?" There's something slightly woolly about the answer, because he's thought of the first 2 most famous dead people he can, and he's not suggested a song or a time or a year even, just those 2 deaders.
I'm afraid that's typical of the listener.
Yeah, sorry, Darren, that's wrong.
You wouldn't get that on Radio 2.
No. Any from you?
Well, yes, there's some on the text. Kenny in Essex, studying train signals, he says. But he's found time in his busy schedule to text in Jackie Wilson replacing John Lennon, which I judge from the shaking heads all around here is totally wrong, so tough luck, Kenny. Stephen Ward says John Lennon replaced himself at number 1 back in 1980. Not really.
Which one dead artist replaced another dead artist? So
I
frankly, we've had too much Lennon. We've had Lennon mentioned constantly.
Well, Wardy's obviously thought it was a bit of a trick question, but he's wrong anyway. So he was wrong to think it was a trick question. He was wrong with his answer. He's had a shocker. Ryan in Cleethorpes thinks it's George Harrison.
Interesting.
Replacing whom?
Maybe he's half right, but he's.
But yeah, he's not. He said who? Replacing who? How's he replacing
He's
who?
done a bit of a half job. So again, slightly disappointing.
Let's hear the answer from the real man himself, Richard.
The question was,
Yep.
what is the only example
Yep.
of one dead person
Dead person, yeah.
replacing another dead
Another
person
was a different dead person, yeah.
at number 1 in singles chart? This happened in 2002 when the reissue of George Harrison's My Sweet Lord replaced a Liar's More Than a Woman at number 1. Though John Lennon had replaced himself at number 1, and the same thing also happened with Elvis Presley. The only case of two different people were George Harrison and a liar.
Yeah. Thank you, Richard.
Yeah,
That is some extraordinary information. And Richard hosts a preposterously difficult music quiz every Monday night at the Three Kings. Is it called the Three Kings?
I believe it's the Three Kings,
in
yes.
Clerkenwell. You can go along there tomorrow evening and try your luck with that. Now listen, I don't like normally playing songs that you can instantly go out and buy straight away. I like to think that new music shouldn't be too new. It angers me. But I had to play this one because it really charmed me. It landed on the Steve Show doormat, and it's by Mariah Taylor, who incidentally is the girlfriend of Conor Oberst of Bright Eyes fame. And this is a track called A Good Start. Mariah Taylor and a track called A Good Start. I'm just trying to find out when it comes out. I had it just now, but after all that chaos earlier, frankly my whole head's gone mushy today. Where is it? Here we are, yeah. It's out on March the 12th. Round of applause for that. I found information. Really good. That's all I need to do is give out information about records, and I failed to do it. Thank you very much indeed to Rufus and Dan who've been with me today, and apologies Rufus for alarming you earlier with the collapse of the studio.
That's a pleasure. That's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
I hope the posh thing isn't getting in the way. It's not coming between us, is it?
It's not coming between you and I. I've known you long enough. I've acclimatised to it. I'm just worried that the listeners don't like it.
There's millions of listeners out there who are thinking, "Where's Harry?
Yeah,
we want him back."
Not only are they thinking that, but they're thinking get the posh twonk off. That's what they're thinking. Sadly, but no. I mean, I've really appreciated you coming in, and thank you very much for bringing your choices. And do you know what? I'd like to ask you to come back next week.
I'd love that, Steve. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dan, come back next week.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.
All right, well, listen, thank you very much indeed to these guys. I think I'm pretty much going to wrap it up there. We've had a lot of laughs, we've had a few tears, but thank you again to Jude for dealing with the agony that happened earlier on. Obviously, thank you to Dave the Walking Man. We appreciate what he did for us earlier by contributing a song choice, despite the fact that he almost drowned in snow earlier in the week. Thank you to the callers who called in. If you would like to champion a song that you think should be on the Steve Show playlist, then go to bbc.co.uk/6 music. Next on 6, Stuart McConey's Freak Zone. Final track this week from Green Day. Talk to you next week. Goodbye. John Boy once around the block. It's Steve Merchant here, the Steve Show on BBC 6 Music. We're only on show 7, people, and already we're confronted by the philosophical concept known as Theseus's paradox. Theseus's paradox, as you all well know, sorry for going over it again, actually, you're probably sick of hearing about Theseus's bloody paradox on the radio. Like, oh my god, Chris Moores was talking about it last week. You know, we all know about it. You know, it's the same basic paradox as Heraclitus's river, and I think if I hear another DJ talking like that, I'm going to scream. You know, we've all been there. But for those few listeners who aren't entirely across Plutarch and the great Greek historians, as you know, the paradox is, well, I mean, obviously John Locke kind of explained it best really when he talked about socks. If you've got a pair of socks, you've got one sock has got a hole in it, and you put a patch on that sock, okay, and then you get another hole, and you put another patch on that, and if you keep on adding patches until there's none of the original material left, is it the same sock? Alright, and obviously Theseus' paradox is obviously the same thing, but with a ship, as we all know. It's if you've got a ship and you keep removing all the planks, and then you replace the planks because it's wearing out, and then eventually there's none of the original wood left, is it the same ship? And obviously, the reason I mention this is because it really poses a question about this show. Is it the same Steve Show? I mean, Dan and Harry were on it the first week. They were excellent. Harry's not here. Dan's not here. They've both been replaced. It's a different producer. Different people. Is it the same Steve show?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Well, you're Steve. It's the Steve show.
Yeah. It is the same show, isn't it? Yeah.
It's obviously the same.
It was a waste of time bringing it up.
It's the Steve show.
It was pointless bringing it up. Let's
Yeah.
play the Beatles. Sorry, I shouldn't have mentioned it.
Yeah.
Sorry. The Beatles' Hey Bulldog, a song which apparently John Lennon